Thank you so much for coming out in this weather. We are pleased to have soprano. Her name is Gabriela Mikova Johnson, and her husband is sitting right here. We have Joy Plaisted, who is a harpist, and she's going to demonstrate a little bit about what harp is really like. I never knew, but she was showing a little bit, and very interesting. So Gabriela is from Czech Republic, and she studied at Janáček Conservatory, where she also performed with the Janáček Philharmonic Orchestra, Brno Philharmonic Orchestra, Teplice Philharmonic Orchestra. She has performed in Spain, Portugal, Germany, Belgium, and Austria with Brno Orchestra. She was on a tour. So we are very fortunate to have her here. We have international artists, as you can see. Then we have Joy, the harpist, Joy Plaisted. She graduated from University of Minnesota. She got a bachelor's there, and she studied graduate work in Geneva Conservatory, and also she has a master's from Juilliard School of Music. She played with the Manhattan Chamber Orchestra, New York Harp Ensemble, and Reykjavik Youth Symphony. Where is that? In Iceland. Oh. So she has also played for off-Broadway shows, productions. She performed in Japan, China, Hong Kong, France, Switzerland, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, and Iceland. Thank you, and please enjoy. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, and they will tell you, I think.
Hello. When I was thinking what to sing for you guys, because they told me like, oh, you can sing any kind of repertoire, anything you want. So I was thinking, okay, so this is spring is here. I should pick something about love, about flowers, and because I'm Czech, I wanted to introduce the Czech composers. And for the first pieces, I chosen music by Antonín Dvořák. You are familiar with him, New World Symphony and Rusálka, which is often being performed in New York City at Met. So later I will sing aria from that too. So the first three songs are written by Antonín Dvořák. They're from a song cycle, love songs. And each song is a little bit different. First, it's called Landscape. It describes this beautiful spring evening when you're looking at the stars and you can feel the breeze and it's more description about lost love. I would think, because the person talks about beautiful outside and the stars, and then he says, and I look at all this gorgeous nature, and only thing I have in my heart is sorrow and grief. It's not very happy ending love, I think. So this is the first song, Landscape.
Zatím lokviti
Landscape, the second song, I would translate it as My Heart, or a Lonely Heart. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous song about a person who's saying there's so much sorrow and so much darkness in so many hearts that they feel like a desert. But when love comes in, this desert becomes paradise again. And it sings an ancient song. So, My Heart. Tak mnohem srdcem mydło jest, jak w temne pustynie, w niem na żalostana bolest, next song is also by Antonín Dvořák, but it's from a different song cycle. It's called from a cycle Gypsy Songs. This song is more popular here. Also, you can hear it being performed by excellent American opera singers. It's called Grandmother. This one. It tells a different love story. It tells a story about love between mother and daughter and in between generations. It says, I was always wondering when my grandmother was teaching me how to sing, why is she crying? And now when I teach my own children how to sing, the tears are falling down my face. about love, but it's by a different composer, Gabriela. It's called Notre Amour, about our love, it's called. And I would say it's more like of a teenager's love thing. It's more like a song about this person is singing about love like it's the first one, that's the first time he or she experienced it. And it's just like full of hormones, and it's like, love will never end, and this will last forever, sort of like feeling. So, Notre Amour.
Notre amour est chose légère, comme les chansons que les membres reçivent de la fougère, pour qu'on le respire au rêve. Notre amour est chose légère. Notre amour est chose charmante, comme les chansons du matin. On y regrette la beauté, on vivra l'espoir certain. Notre amour est chose charmante. Notre amour est chose sacrée, comme le mystère des mots tressailles et la minorée, où le silence en de voix. Notre amour est chose sacrée. Notre amour est chose infinie, comme le chemin des cochons, où la mer au ciel réunie, son dos soleil soleil bouchon. Notre amour est chose éternelle, comme de ce que vieux vainqueur a touché, des vents des ailes, comme de ce que vient le cœur. Notre amour est chose éternelle. Et chose
That was a pretty cool second try. I have a funny story just dawned on me when I was singing this, because I learned this back when I was 18 years old at the conservatory, and I heard the song. I was like, oh my God, I have to sing this. Oh gee, it's in French. So I was looking for somebody who can teach me how to pronounce it correctly, and our theater had a French conductor. And Michel, it was his name. And so I went, and he taught me, and he was wonderful. And I feel this is like a sort of revenge he's having on me, because later during his career, I found he hung himself. So I was like, I hope it was nothing I did. So I think Michel had his little revenge today on me. So. Next piece is Ave Maria, is from Cavalleria Rusticana from Mascagni. It wasn't originally written for voice. It's a gorgeous intermezzo, and I think because it's so beautiful, somebody put words to it so singers can sing it. So it's Ave Maria. First find sheet music, just to be on the safe side. Next piece I chosen is from an opera by Giuseppe Verdi, Il Trovatore. It's Azucena's song. It's interesting. I chose it because very soon there will be Walpurgisnacht. If you know what it is, it's it's on April 30th. It's very big in Europe. I don't know if you guys ever even celebrate it here. It's like celebrating Halloween on end of April. It's a witches' night. There's a tale that witches like come to the hill and they have a huge party and they dance and they they burn the old broomsticks. And there are like lots of different customs they do in Europe. They dress up like witches. They have a huge bonfires. You can like write a wish on a piece of paper, burn it, and then walk 3 times clockwise and counterclockwise, and your wish will come true. I tried, it doesn't work. So this piece is sung by Azucena. She's a gypsy woman, and she's singing about her mother, who was burned at the stake. She was suspected to be a witch, and it's this really terrible description of her looking at her mother, how flames are consuming her, and people are laughing at it. So it's very sort of disturbing and dramatic aria. So, Stride la vampa.
Gioia
Yeah, Azucena was very upset when she sang, and she had her revenge at the end of the opera. Good for her. Okay. Another piece is more of out of romantic kind. It's from all-time Czech and I think world favorite opera Rusalka by Antonín Dvořák. The opera is sort of like, if you don't know the synopsis very well, it's a little bit like a Little Mermaid, but she's in lake instead of the sea. And for Rusalka, it doesn't end very well. She ends up to be first a fairy, then she falls in love with a prince, and she becomes human. Then Prince cheats on her and runs away with the Countess, which doesn't care about Prince at all. She was just jealous. So the Rusalka her heart is broken, so she comes back to her dad and to her sisters, but she's degraded. She no longer can be with her sisters. So she's like this creature which lives in a swamp. And at the end, the prince, he's very much finds out, oh, I love her after all, I can't find her where she is. So he ends up in the swamp with her, and she tells him, like, man, like, don't come because I have to drown you. That's my job now. Like, so, and he sings, oh, it doesn't matter. Let me die with you. And so he sings, I'm so happy in your arms, and he dies, and then she dies also, and they're both happy. So at the end, it's not so bad after all. So the aria is from the first act of the opera, when Rusalka is freshly in love, and she tells her dad, like, oh, I met this guy, but I can't talk to him, I'm this fairy, and she's planning to go to witch, so she gives her the human body, but for now she's just in the pond, and she's like remembering, oh, when Prince comes, I'm this water, and I want to kiss him and hug him, and I can't, and and Moon, tell him to come to me to see me. I'm waiting here for him. So it's a song to the moon. Yeah, there's time. Now is the time for the harp. So Joy will present her solo and will tell you a little bit about her instrument.
Okay. When I was moving the harp in, there were some questions about how the thing worked. So Kai said, "Oh, tell them that." So I will. So a harp is most similar to the piano, and the strings go up in a scale that can be anything. It can be a C major scale if you want it to be just 8 notes in a row. But when all the tension is up on the harp, it's in the key of C flat major. All the notes are flat. And there are 7 pedals along the base of it. So there's 1 pedal for each note, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, right? And that's how you get your 7. And so when I move a pedal, it just is a space saver, basically. We would need so many strings otherwise that you couldn't ever move the thing around. So each note, each string, can be 3 different pitches depending on where the pedal is. And the pedals have little notches. So it can be its longest point and be a C flat. And then I move that C pedal, and you hear it, it goes, it shortens the string. There's a little disc here that goes into place, and it shortens all these strings enough to make them from C flat to C natural. And look, my little hands, they can go to C sharp, right? And so each one can be in a little notch, and you can set up the key, and then when it strays, you just keep moving those pedals But the fun thing that does is that you don't have to stay within a scale. You can use a mixture of sharps and flats at the same time going up. So if I combine the sharps and the flats, you get it's Harpo Marx, right? So it creates lots of possibilities and lots of challenges both that way. But what I chose to play for you today was from an opera, just, how can I not play something from an opera? Also a gruesome story, so I won't go into that, and I won't go into the harp. Isn't it amazing how opera is always just really kind of gory and gruesome? But in a wonderful way. It's dramatic. It's all drama and drama. So this is from the Pearl Fishers by Bizet, and it is the Romance de Nadir. And they've taken liberties, of course, to put it onto the harp.
Okay, we have two more pieces left for you. We've chosen aria Mon cœur saura ta voix from Samson and Delilah. And so glad you liked it too. And our final piece will be O mio babbino caro. I thought opera lovers will appreciate the piece because it's like one of the most beautiful melodies I ever heard. So.
Oh,
like when they cry. It's a good sign. Okay, our last piece, O mio bambino caro. Enjoy.
O mio bambino caro, mi piace bello, quando me ne porta rosa a comperarla. Sì, sì, ci voglio andare, e se la maserino andrà su Monte Vecchio, ma per buttarmi l'arno mi streme tormento, o morir. Babbo pietà, Babbo pietà, pietà.
Thank you very much.
There are good side here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming and see you.
And if you have questions, let us know.
You can ask.
O mio bambino caro, mi piace bello, quando
Good afternoon. I'm Betty Bontempi, a member of the all-volunteer staff of the Richter Association for the Arts in Danbury. I'd like to tell you something about the history of Richter Arts and the impact it has had on our community. In the early part of the 20th century, the beautiful house and the surrounding property was owned by the Richter family. Mr. Richter was an assistant district attorney in New York, and the family used this property as their summer place. And here they entertained their many friends, artistic, literary, musical friends, and we can well imagine little concerts being held in their spacious salon, and innovative and unique pieces of art hanging on their walls and available to look at in the rooms. In 1968, the widowed Mrs. Richter deeded the property to the city of Danbury to be used for the recreational and cultural activities of the community. The outside of the property was to be used for recreational activities and became the golf course, tennis courts, hiking trails, sledding, and ice skating on the lake. The inside, the beautiful house, was reserved for cultural events. It was to be administered by the Richter Park Authority, responsible to the city of Danbury, but completely self-supporting. In 1970, the Richter Association for the Arts was established, with the mandate, according to the words of our first president, Irving Mull, to promote literature, music, dance, art, poetry, and all the activities that enrich the lives of civilized people. And we have been doing that for upwards of 43 years now, with a succession of volunteer boards. One of the first events in 1971 was the Lawn Arts Festival. 89 artists exhibited their work. And this festival was the forerunner of the annual prestigious juried art show, which we have every fall. Throughout the years, Richter Arts has presented all sorts of activities: chamber music, big band, instrumental music. We've had musicians with unusual instruments like the dulcimer, the harp, the electric violin. We've had dance exhibitions, ballet, ballroom, ethnic, even belly dancing. And we've had shows, art shows, sales, poetry readings. We've had opera singers and pop singers. We've had doo-wop singers, and we've had people who play the guitar and sing their own compositions. We've had children's programs and special events celebrating the cultures of other lands. We've had well-known professional performers, and we've had young musicians who have given their first recital at Richter House. So when you come to see a concert or to visit an art show, you are doing exactly what was envisioned by the Richters. You're carrying on a tradition. When this beautiful house was left to Danbury, it was left for this purpose: to continue the arts and the beautiful celebrations of all artistic events for the people of our community. After each performance here, there is conversation and refreshments in our beautiful dining room. Here is where we often learn about the impact of our presentations upon our community. I once heard, after a string trio, a young girl who was sitting in the front row said to her mother, "I want to learn to play the cello." And also around the dining room table, I heard two young men talking after they had heard a jazz presentation by 3 musicians in their 80s who had played with the jazz greats of the early part of the 20th century. They were so enthralled not only with the music, but by the stories that these elderly performers had to tell. And these young men were studying jazz and were continuing the tradition. And I've also witnessed the sale of a young artist's first work after one of our art shows. Now we at Richter keep these wonderful things going by threefold support. First of all, by donations from the business community, local business community, and from corporations. And fundraising is a labor of love by our volunteer board. Secondly, we receive a grant from the Danbury Cultural Commission, but this is a contingency grant. That means that we have to prove that we receive funding elsewhere. And thirdly, we're supported by members' dues and by the donations our audiences give when they come to our events. So please come and join us at Richter House Sunday afternoons during the spring and fall and enjoy our varied programs. Everyone is welcome. Being a member does confer special privileges, but everyone is invited to enjoy our shows. And if you missed one, catch up and see a replay on this television channel, as well as on YouTube, which is accessible from the Richter Arts website,